have this thread cutter. Did you know that? I feel like a lot of people don't know about this. Okay, time to pick our stitches. So we have a straight stitch, a zigzag stitch, an array of decorative stitches, a buttonhole stitch, and an overcast stitch for finishing raw edges. My machine has variations of each of those stitches, so if you want to switch to those blue or red variations, you just switch to S1 and S2. Now the length. This determines how long our stitches are, and this is measured in millimeters. I usually keep mine at 2.5 millimeters. The width determines how wide our stitches are, so if you're using something like a zigzag stitch, you'll want to make this wider. The width also moves the needle left and right, so if you want to sew really close to the edge of something, you might want to move the needle over, but I usually keep my needle in the middle position or a 0. My machine has its own needle position dial, which is very convenient, and the tension. This determines how tight your stitches are sewing. I usually keep mine in the middle. This is the buttonhole lever. If you're ever sewing buttonholes, I told myself I would not say that word in this video, but here we are. This is the regular presser foot that I use 90% of the time, but if you look in this little secret compartment, you'll find a buttonhole foot, a zipper foot, a button foot, and this little turn key to loosen the needle if you want to change your needle. This little hand wheel on the side, you always want to turn this towards you, never away, and this manually moves the needle up and down. This is the reverse stitch, so you always want to start and end your seams with a reverse stitch, and this reinforces everything. On this metal plate, we have the seam allowance guide. You can line your fabric up with these lines to make sure you're sewing the correct seam allowance every time. These little teeth are called the feed dogs. I don't know who named them feed dogs, but these carry your fabric along as you're sewing. Speaking of feed dogs, this little compartment comes off, which is great if you're sewing something narrow like a pant leg. But back here is also the drop feed lever. This will drop your feed dogs down if you so desire. And that's a basic tour of the sewing machine. I hope this helped. Thanks for watching. So you just got a sewing machine. Let's take a tour of it, shall we? This is my Singer heavy-duty sewing machine. I'm going to plug the foot pedal in. This makes our sewing machine go. This little contraption is for loading the bobbin with thread. Next, I'll thread my top thread, and you always want to make sure the presser foot is up when you're threading your machine. My machine has this lovely little map, so it's super easy to thread it. I'll pull down the automatic needle threader, and look at that. This is where we load the bobbin. You want to make your bobbin in the shape of a P. P for perfect. I heard that on a tutorial once and I never forgot it. On the side here we have this
Rolex crown that has a secret meaning. If it's a twin lock system, something like a Datejust and Oyster Perpetual, a dash underneath means it's steel or yellow gold. 2 dots mean it's white gold, 1 dot means it's platinum. On the triple lock system it's slightly different. If you have 3 dots, it means it's steel or yellow gold. If it has 3 dots with a larger one in the middle, it's made of white gold. And if it has 3 dots with a smaller one in the middle, it's made of platinum. I bet you didn't know that, but if you did, let me know in the comments.
Reference, this goes for 19 to 21. Wimbledon two-tone, 41. This goes for 16 to 17. On Oyster, 13 to 15. And then we have some other watches. The Rolex Pepsi on Oyster goes for 20 to 21. On Jubilee, 22 to 23. The Rolex Hope goes for between 18 to 21. Date 36s, 80s to 90s models go for 4.5 to 6. Date 840s go for between 36 to 40,000. And last but not least, the 41mm stainless Wimbledon thus goes for 13 to 14,000. Guys, these are the prices you should pay on Rolex watches in the secondary market. Save this video, share it to a friend who's looking. Thanks for following. See you guys on Watch, guys. Be sure to subscribe for even better prices. See you guys soon. Don't overpay for Rolex watches. Here are the prices you should pay in the current secondary market. Come with me. If you're buying a Rolex watch, save this video, pause, and see these prices before you buy. Here we go. Rolex Batman, these are in the market for 16 to 17. Rolex Starbucks, 15 to 16. Rolex Sprite, 18 to 19. On Oyster, 17 to 18. Black 41mm sub, 15.5 to 16.5. Blue, 16.5 to 17.5. No date 41mm, 11 to 12. 13.5 to 15 for a date. Sky Dweller Blue, this is the 326 reference. This goes for 19 to 21. Wimbledon two-tone, 41. This goes for 16 to 17. On Oyster, 13 to 15. And then we have some other watches. The Rolex Pepsi on Oyster goes for 20 to 21. On Jubilee, 22 to 23. The Rolex Hope goes for between 18 to 21.
To surprise you. I highly recommend making this recipe at home. It's so easy and so good. So just serve it up in a bowl, and you can add some chocolate syrup, or you can add some fresh strawberries. Wow, look at how wonderful it is. So pour that into a glass and call your family for dessert. The result is so impressive. I mean, you really don't need many ingredients to make delicious homemade ice cream. And finish with chocolate syrup, my favorite. Get your family together and try this delicious strawberry ice cream. Enjoy. Listen, I don't even buy ice cream anymore. I make it exclusively at home. So start by adding 250 milliliters of hot water, then add 20 grams of strawberry gelatin. And you can substitute the flavor if you prefer, but the strawberry is so good. Now just put the lid on and mix everything together. Let it go. And once you've mixed it really well, it is actually almost ready. The next step, we're just gonna add 250 milliliters of room temperature water. And then you're gonna add 1 carton of condensed milk. And just pour in all of the contents. Then we're gonna add cream. You wanna add approximately 200 grams of cream. Now just cover and beat once more. And after beating and mixing, we're just going to go ahead and remove the lid and pour all of the contents into an ice cream container. You want to make sure to scrape out and add every little last drop. Now just cover and refrigerate for a good 2 hours. Now after this time has passed, it is half ready. So this is the correct thickness that we are looking for. And next we're just going to use a mixer to beat until it is fluffy and it doubles in size. So after beating well, this is the correct consistency that we are looking for. Now, the last step is to add all of the contents to a large dish. Just pour in all of that fluffy mixture. It yields a lot, but you're gonna love it. And of course, substitute the flavor if you prefer. I've made this with pineapple gelatin or raspberry gelatin. It's so good. So now just refrigerate for 24 hours.
We would understand how ignorant and weak the dream of obtaining everything was. Always having more and more without having time. In 100 years, in 2124, we will all be buried with our relatives and friends. Strangers will live in our homes which we fought so hard to build, and they will own everything we have today, including that car you spent a fortune on. Our descendants will hardly know who we were. How many of us know our grandfather's father? After our death, we will be remembered for a few years. And a few years later, our history, our photos, our deeds go into the dustbin of oblivion. We won't even be memories. Maybe if one day we stopped to analyze these questions, we would understand how ignorant and weak the dream of obtaining everything was. Always having more and more without having time.
How is that possible? It's because wealth is not what they have on them. Wealth is what they have in them. If we took all of the money out of the hands of wealthy people like Oprah Winfrey, Robert Smith, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, and put all their wealth in the hands of poor people, I guarantee you something remarkable would happen. Within 3 years, the rich people would have earned most of their wealth back, and many of the poor people would be back broke again. Why is that? Because wealth is not just what you have, it's who you are. You see, wealth is built from the inside out, not the outside in. That's why so many millionaires can go broke or bankrupt, and then within a few years, next thing you know, they have bounced back to millionaire status. How is that possible? It's because wealth is not what they have on them. Wealth is what they have in them. How is that possible? It's because wealth is not what they have on them. Wealth is what they have in them. If we took all of the money out of the hands of wealthy people like Oprah Winfrey, Robert Smith, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, and put all their wealth in the hands of poor people, I guarantee you something remarkable would happen. Within 3 years, the rich people would have earned most of their wealth back, and many of the poor people will be back broke again. Why is that? Because wealth is not just what you have, it's who you are. You see, wealth is built from the inside out, not the outside in. That's why so many millionaires can go broke or bankrupt, and then within a few years, next thing you know, they have bounced back to millionaire status. How is that possible? It's because wealth is not what they have on them. Wealth is what they have in them.
Issue kayo. Tapos, yung dadagnan nyo, wala. Mga bit na, naghanap ka ng ibang kaligayahan. Yan ang sinasabi ko sa inyo. Abroad kayo para sa may magandang kinabukasan ng pamilya nyo. Ano ngayon? May pamilya kayo magandang dinakdan? Wala! Nang babae na yung asawa mo. Naghanap ka ng ibang pamilya. Yan kasi abroad pa more. Ikaw nagpapakahirap ka doon sa ibang bansa para may mapadala sa kanila. O, tuwing padala mo, yun, ang asawa mo nagpapakasarap sa kabit niya. Nagawaldas ang pira mo na pinaghirapan mo. Yan, abroad pa more. Abroad pa. Yung mga kabit na yan, naku, nakakagigil yung mga yan. Alam niyo na may masisira kayong pamilya. Sige, tuloy pa rin sa pagpapakaligaya. Mga walang hiya. Yung may mga asawa naman, hindi ba kontento? Gusto lagi may reserva. Nako, may pamilya kayong tao, hindi kayo makontento. Gusto nyo lagi, nanluloko kayo ng kapwa nyo. Yung iba naman, kabit ng kabit, alam na nga may asawa. Sige, patol pa. Yan, ano, abroad ka pa? Sige, abroad. Kawawa yung mga anak nyo, iniiwan nyo, nagsasakritisyo kayo. Tapos, yung dadagnan nyo, wala. Mga bit na, naghanap ka ng ibang kaligayahan.
Well, those things and money will follow exactly how you develop those things. Making money is a skill. Keeping money is a discipline. Multiplying money is an art. Develop those things.
Well, what does Proverbs 13:22 say? A good person leaves an inheritance to his children's children. That means our money should impact at least 3 generations. It should impact ours, our children's, and our grandchildren's. So we have to start building generational wealth. You see, the average black family passes on, listen to this, $0 to the next generation. Yep, I said 0. That means when somebody dies, the family gets nothing. No wonder we cry so much at funerals. We're grieving twice, grieving over losing a loved one and grieving that they didn't leave us anything. You see, other ethnic groups leave wills, but we leave bills. Well, what does Proverbs 13:22?
To my work on my YouTube channel, out here on Instagram, learning money. So why savings for poor people? Because rich people just don't do it, right? What is savings anyway? It's a big lump of money you're saving for what? There's no definition to it. Savings by itself does nothing. Investing has an intentional trajectory. It has a rate of return. It has, a debt attached to it. It's an equity investment. There's some structure to it. What's saving? Just putting a lump of money together so you feel good. We're able to store a bunch of cash. Not a good strategy, not what wealthy people do. Why is saving?
Do business. Don't try to mix the two. Lastly, determine your conflict resolution process in advance. Listen, disagreements are going to happen. It happens in all business relationships. But most business relationships are destroyed not because the business was unsuccessful, but because the partners could not resolve a disagreement. So find a third-party, objective source that both of you agree to listen to in case a conflict arises. So, should you do business with family and friends? For most people, my answer is no, unless you follow those 3 things. Should you go into business with family and friends? Well, first you have to figure out if you are willing to put your relationship with this person at risk over business. So for most people, the answer to that should be no. Because if something goes wrong in the business, it could permanently damage the relationship. And I've seen that happen multiple times. It's almost happened to me before. But if you do decide to go into business with a family member or a friend, here are 3 things you absolutely have to have. Number 1 is a contract. In other words, put everything in writing. All of the expectations, the terms of the business relationship, all of it. This whole thing about, I trust you because you're my cousin, you're my brother, or you're my friend, that's not going to fly. Because this ain't about trust, it's about clarity. Secondly, you need to separate your personal relationship from the business relationship. The saying, It's nothing personal, it's just business. That rings true here. When you're hanging out as friends, be friends. Relax, chop it up. But when you're doing business, do business. Don't try to mix the two. Lastly, determine your conflict resolution process. Riches are tied to income, like big paychecks or lavish homes, luxury cars, expensive jewelry, etc. While there's nothing inherently wrong with that, it doesn't equate to true wealth. Riches are based on your net income, but wealth is based on your net worth. So unlike income, wealth is transferable and it can be passed down through generations. For example, real estate, stocks, bonds, business ownership. So from a financial standpoint, we should focus on not just being rich, but being wealthy. There are a lot of people who are rich, but not wealthy. Even in Psalm 112, verses 1 through 3, it tells us that wealth and riches are in the house of a person who fears the Lord and delights in his commandments. So even the Bible clearly makes a distinction between wealth and riches. Well, what's the difference? Riches are tied to income, like big paychecks or lavish homes, luxury cars, expensive jewelry, etc. While there's nothing inherently wrong with that, it doesn't equate to true wealth. Riches are based on your net income, but wealth is based on your net worth. So unlike income, wealth is transferable and it can be passed down through generations.
Establish good credit so they can buy things they can't afford and pay it off over time. Rich people understand that the primary purpose of money is to turn it into more money. So I want to take the money that I make, turn it into more money than I had, and then and only then can I be wealthy. I can only be wealthy if I hold on to my money long enough for it to get pregnant and have some babies. I want to take every $100 bill I get and put it in the money maternity ward. That's the mindset that is necessary to develop the skill set of investing. Are y'all tracking? The difference between poor people, rich people, and middle class people is not how much money they make. And it's not even how much money they have. The difference between rich people, middle class people, and poor people is what they believe the purpose of money. Poor people believe the purpose of money is to pay bills. That's the primary purpose of money in the mind of a poor person. Pay bills. So the only reason they go to work every day is so they can get some money on Friday and hand it over to somebody else. Middle class people think the primary purpose of money is to establish good credit so they can buy things they can't afford and pay it off over time. Rich people understand that the primary purpose of money is to turn it into more money. So I want to take the money that I make, turn it into more money than I had, and then and only then can I be wealthy. I can only be wealthy if I hold on to my money long enough for it to get pregnant and have some babies. I want to take every $100 bill I get and put it in the money maternity ward. That's the mindset that is necessary to develop the skill set of establish good credit so they can buy things they can't afford and pay it off over time. Rich people understand that the primary purpose of money is to turn it into more money. So I want to take the money that I make, turn it into more money than I had, and then and only then can I be wealthy. I can only be wealthy if I hold on to my money long enough for it to get pregnant and have some babies. I want to take every $100 bill I get and put it in the money maternity ward. That's the mindset that is necessary to develop the skill set of investing. Are y'all tracking? The difference between poor people, rich people, and middle class people is not how much money they make. And it's not even how much money they have. The difference between rich people, middle class people, and poor people is what they believe the purpose of money. Poor people believe the purpose of money is to pay bills. That's the primary purpose of money in the mind of a poor person. Pay bills. So the only reason they go to work every day is so they can get some money on Friday and hand it over to somebody else. Middle class people think the primary purpose of money is to establish good credit so they can buy things they can't afford and pay it off over time. Rich people understand that the primary purpose of money is to turn it into more money. So I want to take the money that I make, turn it into more money than I had, and then and only then can I be wealthy. I can only be wealthy if I hold on to my money long enough for it to get pregnant and have some babies. I want to take every $100 bill I get and put it in the money maternity ward. That's the mindset that is necessary to develop the skill set of investing.
That leads to evil. So how can you tell if you love money? The second part of 1 Timothy 6:10 gives us 3 signs. It says some people eager to have money have wandered away from the faith and experienced many sorrows. So the first way to tell if you love money is whether you find yourself craving money so much that you are willing to compromise your integrity for it. You see, some people lie on their taxes, they inflate their expense reports, or they sleep with the boss to get a promotion. Whatever it takes to get financially ahead, they justify it, even if it's wrong. Secondly, money has caused you to stray away from your faith. So instead of money bringing you closer to God, money has pulled you further from God. Lastly, money has brought you more sorrow than joy. In other words, more money, more problems. That's why I love what Proverbs 10:22 says. It says, if the Lord makes you rich, he adds no sorrow to it. You see, when God blesses us financially, it brings peace, not sorrow. One of the most misquoted verses in the Bible is money is the root of all evil. But that's not what it says. 1 Timothy 6:10 says, the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. So it's the love of money, not money itself, that leads to evil. So how can you tell if you love money? The second part of 1 Timothy 6:10 gives us 3 signs. It says some people eager to have money have wandered away from the faith and experienced many sorrows. So the first way to tell if you love money is whether you find yourself craving money so much that you are willing to compromise your integrity.
That keep people poor. The first habit that keeps people poor is blame. You are 100% accountable for your life. Nobody's coming to save you. If you don't believe that, you'll never create. The other one is the habit of not investing in their skills. I know a lot of people that work hard, they're working hard on the work, they're not working hard on themselves. The third habit, they don't understand money. It's really just
They don't have the knowledge about what money
bad
is.
habits. They're wasteful, they don't spend. Show me your bank account and I'll show you your money beliefs.
What do you think of
Resisting the pull of instant gratification. Now that reminds me of this dude in Hebrews chapter 12. His name was Esau. And the Bible tells us not to be like this guy. Well, why is that? The Bible says he was immoral and godless. Well, what in the world did Esau do that was so bad? You know what he did? He did the same thing a lot of us do. He lived for the moment with no concern for his financial future. In other words, Esau didn't practice delayed gratification. And that's the same thing a lot of us do when we want what we want and we want it right now. So in order to build generational wealth, we gotta resist the pull of instant gratification. Because if we don't, we're gonna regret it, just like Esau did. Is impressing the people around you more important than your financial future? Is that Tesla more important than your kids' college education?
Only poor people. When you sit with rich people, they'll never talk about money. Poor people talk about money. Wealthy people talk about ideas. Ideas make you rich, not money. So I can tell where you are in life by what you talk about. If you talk about food and clothes and money and cars and houses, in God's mind you are poor. Christ says, why do you worry what you will eat, what you will drink, what you will wear, how you will live? He says only pagans pray for those things. The largest gatherings of pagans takes place every Sunday morning. Then he makes it worse. He says, take no thought of these things. He just destroyed your prayer life. You don't read the Bible. You are never supposed to come to the altar praying for money. Never. You are pagan, he said. Which means there's something Jesus knows that you don't know. And that's why I'm here. He sent me.
Wearing proper clothes is basically representing you, who you are. So be thoughtful what you're wearing and talk to yourself, is this represents me or I am copying somebody? Once you wear something and you're not comfortable about it, guess what? It's not going to be a good day and you're going to cause yourself so much damage here, and the damage caused here is irreversible. Wearing
Pay off your credit card bill every month. Like, you can afford the things that you're buying, technically. Wealthy, I think, is when you have a degree of independence and autonomy. The weird thing here is that wealth is the money that you don't spend. That's what wealth is, like the homes you didn't buy and the car you didn't buy. It's money that you saved and invested that is going to give you independence. And that's a hard thing for people, I think, to wrap their head around, that wealth is what you don't see. Because I can see your house, I can see your car, I can see your clothes, but I have no idea what your net worth is. I can't see your brokerage account. Can't see your bank account. So wealth is always hidden. And it throws a lot of people for a loop, because if I was looking for a role model of physical fitness, I can see you're famous. I can see your weight and your muscle tone and whatnot. It's all visible. But when you're looking for a financial role model, who do you look up to? And a lot of people, particularly young people, will look up to the guy in the mansion with the Ferrari. But that guy, for all you know, is living paycheck to paycheck. A lot of those people are. And the person who is actually wealthy and independent might be the person in the modest house driving the modest car that you would actually want to be. If you want to be wealthy instead of just rich, you want to be independent instead of just making your monthly payments, the people that you actually want to look up to are some of the hardest people to identify in society. Rich is when you have enough money to make your mortgage payment.
They leave within 5 minutes, claiming they need to go to another event, even though they really don't have another event. They just don't want to lower their value by being too available. This is Law of Power number 16. Robert Greene, the author of the 48 Laws of Power, states that the more you are seen and heard, the more ordinary you appear. That is why some celebrities do not appear in TV commercials. They do not want to decrease their value by being constantly in front of people. The world operates on the principles of supply and demand. The more available something is, the less people value it and begin to take it for granted. Therefore, if you want to increase your respect and reputation, learn to be absent sometimes. If you've noticed, when a celebrity...
Don't stay in a place where nobody sees your value. Know your worth. Father said to his son, "Here is a watch that your grandfather gave me. It is almost 200 years old. Before I give it to you, go to the jewelry store downtown. Tell them that I want to sell it and see how much they offer you." The son went to the jewelry store, came back to his father and said, "They offered $150 because it's so old." The father said, "Go to the pawn shop." The son went to the pawn shop, came back to his father and said, "The pawn shop offered $10 because it looks so worn." The father asked his son to go to the museum and show them the watch. He went to the museum, came back and said to his father, "The curator offered $500,000 for this very rare piece to be included in their precious antique collections." The father said, "I wanted to let you know that the right place values you in the right way. Don't find yourself in the wrong place and get angry if you are not valued. Those that know your value are those who appreciate you. Don't stay in a place where nobody sees your value. Know your worth."
The church may get your money, but God gets your heart. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. That's Matthew 6:21, which is, by the way, one of the most misunderstood verses in the Bible, because Jesus is saying that your heart will follow your money. Now, he didn't say that your money will follow your heart, and that's what most people think. No, he is saying your heart will gravitate to wherever your money is. So if your money is in the stock market, you're going to care about what happens to the stock market. If your money is in real estate, you're going to care about what happens to the real estate market. Well, the same thing happens when we give to the church. Our giving draws our hearts closer to Jesus. You got to understand what happens to your heart when you give. The church may get your money, but God gets your heart. The most talked about subject in the Bible is money. There are more than 2,300 verses in the Bible on how to handle money and possessions. Now, I know a lot of Christians don't like to talk about money. We shy away from it, which I don't understand, because we have to deal with money every day of our life. I mean, money is mentioned in the Bible numerous times. 88 times in the Gospel of Matthew, 54 times in the Gospel of Mark, 92 times in the Gospel of Luke, and 16 out of the 38 parables in the Bible, guess what it deals with? Money. So, what does that tell us as Christians? I tell you what it tells us. Money is a spiritual issue, and we need to learn how to handle it God's way. Did you know the most talked about subject in the Bible is not heaven, love, fasting? It's not even prayer. Now, all those things are important.
Accepted, access denied. Always remember that you can forgive some people without allowing them back into your life. Apology accepted, access denied.
No, they couldn't tell you how much those items cost. They just grab what they need without checking the price because they know they can afford it. I'm guilty of that myself. But those who are struggling financially are very aware of every dollar they spend. They can feel the impact of their purchases, which makes them more careful with their money than many of those who are wealthy. So while financial literacy is crucial, it's not a cure-all. I've spoken to countless individuals who are struggling financially, and many of them are doing the best they can with what they have. Their issue is not a lack of financial knowledge. It's an income problem, an opportunity problem, and often a mindset problem. So while financial literacy is extremely valuable, it's not always the answer. Believe it or not, many broke people manage their daily finances better than most wealthy people. Now, I know that's surprising, so stay with me on this. If you catch a multimillionaire leaving a grocery store and you ask him or her how much they just spent on a loaf of bread or toothpaste, a dozen eggs, or a carton of milk, they couldn't tell you how much those items cost. They just grab what they need without checking the price.
To a story of redemption, love, and eternal life. His name is Jesus Christ. If you believe in this message, comment Amen and share it with someone you love. The greatest man in history, Jesus, had no servants, yet they called him master. Had no degree, yet they called him teacher. Had no medicines, yet they called him healer. He had no army, yet kings feared him. He won no military battles, yet he conquered the world. He did not live in a castle, yet they called him Lord. He ruled no nations, yet they called him King. He committed no crime, yet they crucified him. He was buried in a tomb, yet he lives today. His kingdom is not of this world, yet it lies within the hearts of those who believe. He spoke of love and forgiveness, and his words have transformed millions. He offers no material wealth, yet we consider him the treasure of our lives. He promises no earthly power, yet in his name, the powerless have found strength. Though he left no written words, his message has filled countless pages. In his weakness, we find our strength. In his suffering, our salvation. Jesus, the greatest man in history, continues to invite us into a